The Great Pyramid of Giza is the only ancient wonder still standing, and honestly, it feels like it shouldn't exist. It's enormous, it's precise, it's ancient beyond imagination, so old that Cleopatra is closer in time to us than she was to the pyramid's construction. That still blows my mind every time I think about that. But built during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu in around 2560 BC, over 4,500 years ago for those struggling with the math, this giant monument once towered over the desert like a glowing white mountain. I included a short segment about the Great Pyramid in my video on the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the comments brought up some great questions and theories, so I thought, well, why not dig a little deeper? Let's take a closer look at how historians think it was built and why there's still debate. What we think we know for sure, what remains a mystery, and why this ancient megalithic monument continues to spark wonder and the occasional, wait, how did they do that? Let's dig in. Whatever you think about the Great Pyramid, it's hard to wrap your head around the idea that it was built well over 4,000 years ago. Before heavy construction, equipment, before electricity, or computer-aided drafting, and I get it, it looks impossible. But archaeology tells a clearer and honestly way more impressive story. If you study the building projects of the Greeks, Romans, Chinese, and other ancient civilizations, you'll find that monuments like the Parthenon, the Colosseum, and the Great Wall often relied on enslaved people, convicts, or forced labor. The workers who built the Great Pyramid, however, weren't slaves. They were paid laborers, fed with huge amounts of bread, grain, onions, and beer. Yes, beer was a common payment. And Egyptian beer wasn't like the light, bubbly stuff people drink today. It was thick, nutritious, almost like liquid bread, packed with calories and safer to drink than most water because alcohol killed bacteria and parasites. This isn't legend, it's recorded in simple hieroglyphic graffiti inside hidden stone chambers. Workers wrote things like the Friends of Khufu Gang or the Drunkards of Menkaure, very human construction crew messages that no one was ever meant to see. We've also found their cemetery, and many skeletons show broken bones that healed, meaning someone cared for them, fed them, treated their injuries. Slaves don't get medical care and honored burials. But skilled laborers working on a national project? Absolutely. The numbers behind the pyramid are also absolutely wild. It contains over 2.3 million stone blocks. If Khufu reigned roughly 23 years, the workers were placing a block every 2 to 3 minutes, 24 hours a day for 2 decades straight. And yes, that sounds impossible. Every time I think about those stats, my brain says, really? Did they really do that? No way. But remember, this was a national government organized mega project with thousands of skilled workers, rotating crews, and a whole support city built just to feed, house, and supply them. Even with modern cranes, diamond saws, and high-tech tools, we would struggle to match that pace. The Egyptians meant business. They were operating on a completely different level of organization, engineering, and the will to get the job done. And here's the part often people forget. The pyramid looked different in ancient times than it does today. Originally, it was covered in polished Tura limestone, smooth as marble and bright white, reflecting sunlight like a beacon. Ancient writers said it gleamed like a second sun. And at the top was a capstone, probably coated in gold or electrum, an alloy of gold and silver that was associated with the sun god Ra. Glittering in the desert light. Imagine seeing that from miles away. Inside the pyramid, the mystery gets even deeper. The main burial chamber contains a massive granite box, often called a sarcophagus, but here's the thing. The box is too big to fit through the doorway. It had to be placed inside before the chamber was built around it. And the box is rough and undecorated, very unlike Egyptian royal burials. So if it's not a typical sarcophagus, what is it? Most Egyptologists still think it was intended to hold Khufu's body, a sarcophagus, just in the style very different from later, more elaborate tombs. Others think it may have served a symbolic purpose, part of a spiritual resurrection chamber rather than a treasure-filled burial like those of King Tut and others in the Valley of the Kings. Either way, whatever Khufu was placed in or wasn't placed in, the box is still one of the Great Pyramid's biggest mysteries. Behind the walls, archaeologists found hidden inner chambers polished smooth like glass, craftsmanship nobody was ever meant to see. Why polish a wall perfectly and then bury it forever? Because the Egyptians saw the pyramid as a spiritual machine, a resurrection engine meant to help the king ascend to the stars. Speaking of stars, the pyramid has narrow shafts pointing to specific constellations, Orion's Belt, Sirius, and the circumpolar stars associated with eternal life. Earlier archaeologists thought they might be ventilation shafts, but many now believe that they were intended to be symbolic pathways for the pharaoh's soul. That's the kind of detail textbooks usually don't mention, but it brings the whole structure to life. It's still debated. Egyptians also engineered a security system inside the pyramid, enormous granite blocks that slid into place to seal the corridors after the burial. Each block weighed more than 50 tons. Yes, you heard that right, about 100,000 pounds. About the weight of a fully loaded semi-truck or 7 elephants. And the Egyptians were lifting that into place using nothing more than levers, sledges, and human strength. People today can get inside the chamber because the ancient tomb robbers tunneled around them. And here's another mystery. Khufu's name appears nowhere inside the pyramid. That's unusual. Other pharaohs carved their names everywhere. Think Ramses the Great, who basically invented ancient branding. Ramses loved putting his name on everything: temples, statues, obelisks, even older monuments he didn't even build. If a wall had a flat spot on it, Ramses probably carved "Ramses was here" in the hieroglyphs. The only direct evidence linking the Great Pyramid to Khufu is the workers' graffiti hidden in the upper chambers, and honestly, I think that's pretty thin evidence compared to the giant carved cartouches we see from later pharaohs in their tombs in burial locations like the Valley of the Kings. But it's the best direct evidence we have. As for Khufu's mummy, it's never been found. The granite box was already empty when explorers first entered. Was his body stolen later? Was his burial somewhere else? Did the pyramid serve a purpose we don't fully understand? We really don't know. And remember, 4,500 years is a very, very long time. Some things may never be known for sure. Outside the pyramid, archaeologists found deep pits containing pieces of full-size boats. One of them, the Khufu solar bark, has been reconstructed. Egyptians believed the king would need a boat to sail with the sun god Ra across the sky in the afterlife. So they buried his cosmic travel vessel right next to the pyramid. Then there's the Sphinx. It isn't attached to the pyramid. It was carved from a natural limestone ridge nearby. Most scholars think it was created during the reign of Khafra, Khufu's son, making it younger than the pyramid, but the timeline is not airtight. Its weathered patterns, its missing inscriptions, its overall look have fueled debates for decades. The Sphinx seems intentionally mysterious. There are even fun stories, modern stories connected to the pyramids. When Mark Twain visited Egypt, he wrote that the pyramid does not diminish when you come near it. It only enlarges. Twain couldn't resist poking fun at the pyramids. He wrote that climbing one was both exhausting and exhilarating, and that the proper way to do it was to take 1 step, rest, 2 steps, rest, 3 steps, rest, until, as he put it, you accelerate as you ascend, which is Twain's poetic way of saying your legs will be on fire halfway up. I've never visited the pyramids and probably never will get the chance, but studying them seems to raise more questions in me than I can answer. Some of the coolest evidence about the mysteries of the Great Pyramid comes from small details, like the workers' graffiti I mentioned earlier. One inscription discusses ration deliveries of bread and beer, confirming a rotating labor force rather than enslaved workers. Another tidbit comes from the Greek historian Herodotus, who wrote that 100,000 men worked in 3-month shifts. Not slaves, but a national workforce. And reconstructed workers' villages show bakeries, medical areas, and barracks, a whole community built just to support pyramid workers. Inside, there were strange architectural choices that make you stop and think. Above the king's chamber are 5 hidden relieving chambers, small spaces stacked like layers of a wedding cake. Their only purpose was to redirect the weight of the pyramid so the ceiling wouldn't collapse under the millions of pounds of stone. And those massive granite beams holding it all up, they came from Aswan, more than 500 miles away. Why haul granite that far when there was plenty of limestone nearby? Because granite is so strong it can withstand enormous pressure. The Egyptians wanted the toughest material they could get, even if that meant dragging 50-ton blocks across a continent. Then there's the precision of the ascending passages, the polished hidden walls no one was ever meant to see, and the star-aligned shafts that seem designed for something more than just ventilation. Details like these show the Egyptians weren't guessing. They knew exactly what they were doing. And of course, people often ask why the pyramid doesn't have decorations inside like King Tut's tomb. The answer is kind of simple, I guess. Tut's tomb was small and rushed and filled with rich burial goods for a young king who died unexpectedly, and plus it was a different time period. Khufu's pyramid was a cosmic monument, not a treasure box. Its decorations were the structure itself, its math, its astronomy, its geometry, its symbolism. So why does the Great Pyramid still matter today? The ancient Greeks listed 7 wonders of the world, and today only one remains. Not the Temple of Artemis, not the Lighthouse of Alexandria, not the Colossus of Rhodes, just this one. A perfect geometric masterpiece, older than most civilizations. A monument built with skill, faith, engineering, excellence, and a vision of eternity. Maybe that's what makes the Great Pyramid of Giza so amazing. Not only was it construction mind-bendingly colossal, a human achievement that stood longer than any other ancient wonder, but it still leaves us with mysteries we may never fully solve. And honestly, I think that makes it even more interesting. This is Have to Know History. History you just have to know. Thanks for being here.